Hello, everyone. Welcome to New Gen Politics. A summit will soon be held in Saudi Arabia on August 5th through 6th to discuss a peace proposal by Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky. Russia officials will not be present, and Zelensky has insisted that he will not negotiate with Russia while occupying forces remain in Ukraine territory. Mexico's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, also known as the SRE, has said that Mexico is willing to participate in peace talks on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, but only if all parties are involved. Quote, the government of Mexico declares its support for the presentation in progress of peace plans and proposals aimed at ending the conflict, the SRE said while making it clear that Mexico believes the talks should, quote, involve both parties. The statement echoed the stance taken by President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador in his Monday morning press conference when he suggested that Russia should also be invited to the Saudi Arabia summit. Quote, if there's acceptance from both Ukraine and Russia to look for solutions to achieve peace, we'll participate, he said. He also said, quote, we don't want the Russia-Ukraine war to continue. It's very irrational, noting that the conflict has caused massive human suffering. The only thing that benefits from it is the war industry. On Monday, the Kremlin said it would, quote, follow the meeting, but did not currently see conditions for peace talks with Kiev. In April, Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky urged Mexican lawmakers to back his plan to end the war, which would include Russia withdrawing its troops from Ukraine territory. President Lopez Obrador had outlined a separate peace plan last year, which Ukraine opposed, arguing it would have benefited Russia. While Mexico voted to back a United Nations resolution condemning Russia's invasion and sent humanitarian support to Ukraine, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador has refused to send arms to Ukraine or sanction Russia, saying that Mexico's, quote, position is one of neutrality, which has to do with our non-interventionist foreign policy. A non-interventionist foreign policy. What a novel concept. Completely different from the U.S.'s current foreign policy, which is constant involvement in all places and at all times. What Mexico is doing here is actually quite interesting, because they're demanding that both parties be involved in the peace negotiations, which seems like common sense to me, and I'm sure it seems like common sense to everybody else, but it's interesting and unique because our country and other countries in the West, throughout this whole conflict, have made the active decision to not include Russia in negotiations. They don't even want to talk to Russia. They don't even want to look at Russia. They want to treat Russia as this ostracized country that has no place in polite society and has no means to dialogue with these other countries of the world. And it's just ridiculous because you can't have peace talks without both countries present. What are you going to do? You draw up a plan with you and all your allies, and then what are you going to do? Present it to Russia for them to decline because it's going to be incredibly biased towards Ukraine without both parties involved? So that's what's nice is Mexico is at least taking a stance here and saying, let's get Russia involved. Let's end the war. That is the priority. But the only way we're going to do that is to get both parties to agree to end the war. The only outcome of this peace negotiations without Russia is either Ukraine decides to surrender, which is not going to happen, or more war. Because if you're not going to negotiate with Russia, what's the end solution? You come up with a proposal, you present it to Russia, they say no. What's the West's response? To keep the war going, or to get even further involved. So this really is not a good thing to not include Russia in these negotiations. And I'm glad that the Mexican president and the Mexican government is taking a stand here and saying, we need to get a priority straight. We need to end this conflict. When Zelensky says, I won't negotiate until every troop is out of Russia, it's absurd. Like, he knows that that's not going to happen. And other countries have to know that's not going to happen. Russia's not going to pull out troops to then go to the negotiating table when they're winning. And it's pretty apparent that they are winning. The media doesn't want to report on it, but the whole Ukrainian counteroffensive has not been going very well. And yes, they're putting up a good fight against the Russians, and they've certainly stretched this out way longer than anybody thought they would. And they've certainly foiled Russia's plans to do a 2-week special operation. But the person who wants to go to the negotiation table is usually not the person who's winning. And in this case, that happens to be Ukraine. Ukraine is not winning. And they want peace, but they don't want peace unless Russia has no say in how peace is made and the conditions of peace and what will happen post-war. They want full control over Russia's fate and the ability to do whatever they want and punish Russia however they want. It's the same thing that happened post-World War I, where France and England decided that they're going to punish Germany to the point where we completely ruined their economy, destroyed their morality, total civilization destruction. I don't believe that Zelensky actually wants peace here. I believe he wants revenge against Russia. He wants to make it seem like he wants peace. He wants to propose this peace deal, and then Russia rejects it naturally because it's going to be incredibly biased towards Ukraine. And then he's going to come out shocked that Russia doesn't want peace and the West needs to help us fight Russia because they refuse to negotiate and they don't want peace. When that's just not the case. They're painting this false narrative. They're trying to push it in the West. And thankfully, Mexico and hopefully other countries stand up and say, we want this war to end. We don't want to pick sides. The only way to get conflicts to end is to get both parties to agree to end them. But at the end of the day, Zelensky doesn't want the war to end until all his demands are met, which means this conflict may not have an end in sight. And now that you've heard what I think, please let me know what you think down in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.